Hello, welcome to Train Signal. This is the reporting lesson in the System Center 2012 Operations Manager Training course. When it comes right down to it, for just about any solution that's going to be monitoring or taking any kind of significant part in your infrastructure, reporting is a key element. It provides you with actionable intelligence about what's going on in the environment, and with Operations Manager, can provide you with historical trending information that you can use in future decision making. Operations Manager comes with a ton of reports, and every management pack that you add adds yet more reporting capability to the overall environment. However, for this course, when we installed Operations Manager, we intentionally skipped the reporting component, and we're going to install that in this lesson. Now, as I mentioned, reporting provides a plethora of information about the Operations Manager environment. And in Operations Manager, many of the reports are very comprehensive and have drilled down capabilities, making them eminently useful for figuring out exactly what's happening in the environment. But when it comes to reporting, the best way to see what's out there is to just go right ahead and get into it. Therefore, we're going to install the reporting component into our Operations Manager environment. We'll install it onto the SQL Server. But we have to prep the SQL Server first by installing the full .NET Framework 4.0, and then we will deploy the Operations Manager 2012 reporting components onto our SQL Server. During installation, we have to make sure to remember the name of our Operations Manager server so we can point the reporting instance to the correct system. And also, make sure you know the name and the password for the data reader account that was created during the SCOM installation. For example, SCOM reporting. After the reporting component is installed, which can take quite some time, we're going to go ahead and view the available reports in Operations Manager. And then we'll run a report, and I'll show you how to schedule a report for automatic execution. But let's get started with this screen of information by going over to the SQL Server and satisfying the prerequisite and installing Operations Manager reporting. As you can see, I'm now on the SQL Server for Operations Manager, and I've already downloaded the web installer for the .NET FX 4.0, so I'm just going to double click it and choose Run. Now this part of the process isn't all that exciting, but it's necessary in order for the reporting component to be able to be installed into our SQL Server environment. The installation of the .NET Framework can take a few minutes, so be patient. And as you can see, the process is finished, so we'll click Finish, close this window. I've already mounted the Operations Manager media into our CD-ROM drive, so I'll go up there, and you'll see a familiar screen. And you've seen this before. This is the normal Operations Manager installer. So we go to Install. This time, we want the reporting server. Just the reporting server. So we'll choose it. Click Next. We'll keep the default installation location. And then it's going to validate the environment. And everything is going to be met. So everything's all ready to go. I'll click Next. Management server name is scom12-1.globalmantics.com. Next is asking us which SQL Server instance do we want to use for reporting services. Well, there's really only one there, and it's the default one that we installed when we installed Operations Manager. So we're simply going to click it, choose it, and click Next. Now we're being asked to provide the name of our data reader account. I provided GlobalMantics SCOM reporting. The system is now validating that account. You want to participate anonymously in the operational data reporting component. And this is basically a way for Microsoft to basically improve the system. It's sort of like the customer experience improvement program. Choose Next. And then we have an installation summary. And as you can see, everything on the screen is ready to go. I'll simply click Install. This process can take quite some time. Therefore, I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back when it's done. And as you can see, setup is now complete. So we have a fully functional Operations Manager reporting environment installed into the Operations Manager environment for Global Mantix. Now, we're going to go over to the Operations Manager console and start looking around at some of the reports that have become available. We'll also see how to run a report and schedule a report for automatic execution. For our purposes, we're going to work with a Microsoft generic reporting library, and we're going to run the health report. And you'll see that I double-clicked that report. And it brings up basically something that's very parameterized. Now, this gives us the ability to really customize even further the reports that we're going to run to get information out of the environment. So you saw the reports, but you're not just limited to saying, okay, this report only works for a year and then I got to rewrite it. As you can see on the screen, you get all kinds of different opportunities to provide input to the reporting environment about what you want to add to the report, what you want to look at, when you want to run it, the date range that it should be used, and a whole slew of other things. You'll notice we have data aggregation. If you're looking for something that says basically, a bigger picture view of the environment, a daily aggregation makes more sense. The longer term you go out, the more likely that you're going to use a daily aggregation, which means that Operations Manager will look at daily reporting information rather than hourly. Although if you're looking for something that's very short term, something that's happening today, an hourly roll-up might make more sense. We'll use the daily aggregation for this purpose. And we're going to run from the previous month, first day, to today at 8:20. So basically, we're going to go from the first day of last month to today. That'll be the date range we use for this particular report. Now, this is going to be a health report. Now, we have to decide what we want to add to this health report. So we can either add groups or add objects. Well, I'm going to add objects. And I'm going to look for Windows Server objects. Now, I know for a fact some of these virtual machines have been down in the period that we have specified for this report. So we're going to actually see some interesting information in this report. Now, we have to tell the report what we consider to be real downtime. Some organizations do not consider planned maintenance to be part of a downtime metric. So if there's a maintenance window that runs from midnight to 6 a.m., even though the systems may be out for 6 hours, that's not considered downtime that works against IT. And that makes sense because IT does have to have an opportunity to be able to keep systems in peak running condition without being dinged for it in the metrics. We're going to indicate that downtime is considered that any time we had monitoring that was unavailable, so the system for whatever reason could not actually see one of these systems that's been running, or that something was unmonitored. Now, you can also say that downtime should be considered for a system that was in a warning state. But that could be something as simple as you're getting low on disk space. For our purposes here, we're not going to use that particular metric. And then we'll choose Run. Operations Manager will whip up a bunch of information. And then you'll get a pretty looking graph like you see on your screen. And you can see that there is some variation in the colors. We have gray for GMSCSQL, which meant that the system was down. Monitoring was unavailable. You also see we have some blue here. This was because we had planned maintenance for that system, but we consider it uptime. And you'll see that this system has a 60.97% downtime percentage, which is pretty poor, and only a 39% uptime percentage. This is important information for IT to be able to gather, particularly when IT is responsible for various service level agreements in the organization. You'll see the NWorks system, only 44.12% of uptime. But the other systems, actually, we did pretty good. We had 100% uptime, which is what we really wanted to see. Now we can further expand by clicking the plus, and you'll see that we get some additional information. We get availability time detail, which we'll do in just a second, downtime periods, configuration changes, or object monitor availability detail. So this links us to other reports that may be of interest when it comes to trying to determine exactly why we had this downtime. Now I happen to know this system simply wasn't on the network at that time, but Operations Manager doesn't necessarily know that. So let's run availability time detail for this system. Now when you click, you're basically drilling down, so you don't have to provide further parameters because Operations Manager already knows what objects you want to use. And you basically just get some additional insight into the entity health. Nothing all that interesting, and you're going to notice the system was actually up earlier in the month, and it's down now. And we can go back to our other report. And you can get additional information from the availability tracker. It's the same report. And if you want to get more information about the report, simply click the plus sign up here. But this gives you some pretty powerful insight into really how your overall operation is running. And that's good stuff to have, particularly when you have to justify the management, an expenditure, or some other type of activity. As I mentioned, there's a whole lot of different reports you have at your disposal. We have various operating system reports, but you can also schedule these reports so you don't actually have to run them on demand. So you could actually have a weekly report, like the one we just ran, that goes to management. Let's go back to the generic report library, and let's do a health report. And we'll schedule it to automatically be emailed to the CIO at GlobalMantix. So we choose the health report, and we're going to click the schedule option. The description will be CIO reporting, health. The delivery method is going to be via email to CIO@globalmantix.com. We'll include the report in an HTML format so he can drill down. And it's going to be the report name was executed at this particular time. Now, how often do we want this person to get this report? Weekly, Monday morning. The subscription will never expire. And do we want any report parameters? Yeah, we do. We're going to want reports that are from previous week, Sunday, through yesterday. So that'll give us about a week's worth of information. And we're going to start it at 12:01 a.m. through 11:59 p.m. That'll give us the full day's worth of information. So we'll add objects, just like we did before. We'll add all of our Windows servers. And now we'll click Finish. And if we come down here to Scheduled Reports, we'll then see that we've got a CIO Reporting report scheduled, so we can actually use that report if we'd like. And we can open this to see what the results of the report are going to be for the CIO. So this is what the CIO will receive as a part of his reporting package each week. He'll basically get this report in an email. And that's it for reporting. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.